Welcome to the Chicken Yogi Show, the podcast that helps you find your inner power by connecting you to self and nature. Hosted by Kit Kalestow, the Chicken Yogi. Broadcasting from their homestead, Kit helps you find and honor your inner power so you can step into your light and shine. Their focus is on trauma-sensitive chronic wellness. Listen to everything from wellness talk to deep dives on spiritual topics, all designed to honor you and your unique journey. And now this week's show.
Welcome to this week's episode of the Chicken Yogi Show. Chicken Yogi is all about helping you rise and shine in harmony with yourself and with the universe. And so this week I want to talk about what does harmony mean? Because to me, especially these days, it feels like we have so many things that are pounding at us that we really aren't in harmony. It's like if you gave a 3-year-old a drum set and then you gave another 3-year-old a xylophone and you just basically put them in a room and let them pound away. You probably would not get something that sounds harmonious or even a little bit like music. It might be fun for the first little bit. You might, think, man, these kids are having fun and this is great. But after a while, even if you're not sensitive to noise, but if you are, then, oh my goodness, after, a couple of minutes, you're going to be like, okay, that's enough. We need to find something new to do here. But even if you aren't sensitive to noise, if you're neurotypical, then after, you got a couple toddlers pounding away on a xylophone and on a drum set, and maybe even some pots and pans or some cymbals, you're going to want to start to bring that noise level down and get some more harmony in your life. Harmony goes beyond music, though, and I'd like to turn to the dictionary to make sure that we're all on the same page, because when I mention the word harmony, a lot of people probably do think about music, and the very first definition of harmony is the combination of simultaneous musical notes in a chord. That makes sense. That matches what we think. Well, if we go to the second definition of harmony, and this is from the Merriam-Webster Dictionary, the second definition is a pleasing arrangement of parts, or gives the synonym congruence. 2B definition says agreement or accord. So two people being in harmony because they agree with things. And finally, the C, or the third definition for the second listing of definitions, is internal calm or tranquility. Those three words really resonate with me. Congruence, agreement, tranquility. Because what we're looking for when we want to be in harmony with the universe is we want to have that congruence, and we want to have that internal congruence. In other words, we're doing the job that feels right to us. It's not going against our morals. It's not causing a moral injury. The people around us seem to fit with our friendships. They fit with our morals. They fit with our beliefs. And the world in itself just feels like a non-jarring place. And I think we can all agree. Take any piece of our world today, whether it's the tendency for jobs to be fast-paced and busy workplaces, whether it is current geopolitical situations, whether it's domestic geopolitical situations, whether it's public health. There are so many different places in our life right now where congruence just isn't possible, because what we may feel and what we may believe does not match what other people believe. And if you're neurodivergent, if you're autistic, if you have ADHD, if you have mental illness like depression or anxiety, that lack of congruence is just magnified tenfold, because you're constantly surrounded by people. And honestly, it doesn't matter what chronic illness you're dealing with, what situation you're dealing with. In our society today, there is a big tendency for people to not deal with anything negative. They don't want to bring their vibes down. And so they tend to ignore or gloss over what people are actually experiencing. And what they want isn't sympathy. It's not, someone to feel sorry for them. It's someone to say, hey, I see your experience. I see that you're struggling. Let me witness this. Let me hold space for you. How can I help? If you have any sort of chronic illness, any sort of mental illness, any sort of neurodivergence, finding somebody to hold that space for you is damn hard. And I mean, I'll just say that flat out. And so that makes the whole idea of congruence that much more difficult, which then makes the whole idea of agreement or accord even more difficult, because you might express a belief. Hey, I'm having a rough time today at work. This is going on. And I bet you've been in a situation where your coworkers are like, oh, well, that client isn't mean to me. I don't have that experience. And there's no agreement. There's no accord. There's just dismissing what you feel. Again, it's that lack of congruence, that lack of holding space for people and witnessing what they're going through. And ultimately, that screws with your tranquility. There is probably no way, and if there is, please write me, tell me. But in my personal experience, there is no way to feel tranquil, to actually have that inner calm and peace, reduce our stress levels, induce relaxation for a long period of time if we're doing something that doesn't have agreement and doesn't have congruence. Which brings us back to where we were before, and that is, if we're thinking about harmony, we're thinking about having congruence, agreement, and tranquility both within and without. And that is where my work with Chicken Yogi comes into play, because again, my goal is to help you rise and shine in harmony with yourself and with the universe. I don't think anybody can really sell you the magic ticket to fix all of the world's problems that are affecting you. There are a lot of people that make a lot of promises out there, and they sell you a lot of things. I feel like if we work for that harmony, the first goal is to find that harmony within. Once we know ourselves, once we can find the harmony within, then that allows us to start feeling our harmony in the parts of the universe that we resonate with. And this comes down to a question I wrote when I was kind of brainstorming some things. And the question was, how can you know yourself if you don't know how you fit into the rhythms of life? So when we look at that, how can you not know yourself if you don't know how you fit into the rhythms of life? And that is why you can start with the inner work, but there is really not an either or situation here. We need to work on both how we fit into the rhythms of the outer world and how this works within ourselves. And that's where my sacred herd comes in. That's where my work with nature, with the chickens here on the homestead comes into play. Because it's very difficult to be bombarded by the news. And I'm not saying put your head in the sand and ignore it. I think we need to definitely know what's going on in the world around us. But if we marinate in that 24/7, the way that the news cycles want us to, that's just going to get overwhelming, and that will cut you off from the rhythms of nature. Because instead of finding how you connect with things in the world, how you resonate with things in the world, you're being forced to resonate at someone else's frequency. And that's what the mass media wants to do. Now, I'm not going to go on a tirade about the media. I'm not going to decry them or anything. Obviously, do I feel that a lot of our media could do better, less sensationalizing? And that goes all the way from your local news to cable news. I notice my local news channel, for example, they will hype and hype and hype certain weather events far beyond what they need to be hyped. I mean, and I'm not talking about severe weather and warning people. Of course, that is super important to do that and to cut into programming. But what I'm talking about is if it's going to get hot this week, and we're here in the Ozarks, we're in a very strange weather pattern where we're literally yo-yoing between hot and cold. So, okay, it's going to get hot again this week. And all of a sudden, for the next 5 days, all you hear is it's going to get hot, it's going to get hot, it's going to get hot. Well, they're trying to get people to watch their weather. They're trying to get people to drive their ratings. And I understand that that's their business and that's their job. But they're wanting you to completely be obsessed about this upcoming weather event, when the truth is the vast majority of us know to stay hydrated, know to use sunscreen, know to stay out of the heat and do the best you can. And for those of us who have to be out in the heat, I mean, I have to take care of my animals. I want to take care of my animals. It's not so much a have to, it's a want to. I want to make sure that they're comfortable in the heat. I used to work with my father doing lawn care and lawn maintenance. And so you have to mow yards when it's hot in the summertime. That's when the grass grows. And with that, you learn. Or my job at the stables, when I used to work as a stable hand, there were days in Iowa when it was 95, 100 degrees and 75, 80% humidity. I would take my big cooler full of lemonade or my big cooler full of iced tea, something to drink, so I would stay hydrated. You learn how to do that. And I don't need somebody yelling at me for 5 days that it's going to get hot when I already have the ability to do that. So it's those ways in which the media, in which our world wants us to very much get out of congruence with ourselves and with the world around us, and instead get congruent with their time frames or what they want us to focus on. It's very much like the saying at work, a poor planning on your part does not constitute an emergency on my part. And on one hand, that sounds kind of rude because you want to help people. And when things go sideways, you want to jump in and you want to take a little bit of that load off their plate and help them out. But on the other hand, at some point, you need to set boundaries, and people need to understand that not everything is a life or death situation. And so when we think about that in our workplace, in the media, in our own homes possibly, there are people who would want to pull us out of that harmony or out of that congruence with ourselves and nature. That really can mess with you. That really can, if you have a chronic illness, that can make your chronic illness flare. That can affect depression, anxiety. If you're autistic, you get sensory overwhelm. You get overstimulated. I am autistic, and I have that happen at work or at home when all of a sudden there's like 50 things that need to be done at once. And it's like, whoa, I can't do this. And you just want to put your hands over your head and run away. When that happens, that is when you're out of harmony. And the first way to get into harmony is to recognize what isn't working for you. This is going to be a topic that I will take over probably multiple podcasts. I don't want to dump it all here because I feel like that would be too much. That would be one of those hands over the head runaway moments. But I do want you to start thinking about where in your life are you not in harmony with yourself and nature. Let's break that down just a bit. You can trace a through line from anywhere where you are stressed, anywhere where you are overwhelmed, anywhere where you don't feel well, where you don't feel right, where you have any sort of resistance. That is where you're not in harmony. Let's take a look at our jobs. If you don't want to get out of bed in the morning because you don't want to go to work, or if you sit at your desk at work and think, oh my gosh, I can't do this anymore. This is just taking too much out of me. There's not enough return. That tells you that you're not in harmony with that job. The Buddhists have a concept called right work. And what this concept is, it's looking at the ways that you earn a living, understanding that we have to earn a living in this society, unfortunately, even though we have enough resources for everyone. We're still, at least here in America, we need to still have a job and earn a living. And you need to do work that resonates with you. You need to do work that does not cause you moral injury, that is not perpetuating what you perceive as harm. You need to do work with people who respect you, who check in with you, who care for you. You need to do work for a compensation that is a living wage, that allows you to pay your bills, to take care of yourself, to take care of your family without scrimping on what you need for basic sustenance, healthcare, food, shelter, clothing. You need to make sure that your job is giving you as much as it's taking from you. And if there is an imbalance in that, then that is not in harmony. That is not congruent. And that is something that needs to be looked at. Is it a situation where you would find that harmony if you were compensated more? If work procedures were changed, if you found the harmony that way, how can you find harmony in what you're doing for a living? Do you need to look for another job? Understanding, of course, that depending on your skill set, your education, where you live, it may be easier for some than others to actually find another job. And so we need to acknowledge that even as we're talking about ways to bring your work into harmony. How about with yourself? Are you in harmony with yourself? Do you constantly have mental talking down to yourself? Do you constantly ruminate over bad things that happen? Do you constantly just kind of get yourself into this rut and rah, this isn't working and that isn't working? If you're in that mindset, and it's very difficult to get out of that mindset, especially if life has been very rough for you recently or for a long time. It's very rough to get out of that mindset and to start to have a gratitude or growth mindset. I fully acknowledge that. My mindset is something that I struggle with, still. That when things happen, when bad things happen, it's like, the ton of bricks got jumped on you, and you need to think about how to make that better. When that happens, that's a sign that you're not in harmony with yourself. If you have health issues, and again, always keep working with your physical health providers, your mental health providers, if you can, if that's available and accessible to you and affordable to you, to be blunt. If you can do that, please keep working with your healthcare providers. But also notice, does your stomach get a little rough or a little wobbly in a certain time of the day? When something happens or when you start to have a thought, how does your body feel? Get in contact with your body. Start tuning into your body, whether that's through meditative breathing, whether that's through body scans, whether that's through yoga. However you do that, find a way to figure out what those feelings actually feel in your body. That's a great way to start getting into harmony, start noticing your rhythms of life. For those who have a uterus and who menstruate, those rhythms of life, starting to notice what happens at each part of your cycle, starting to notice, okay, do you have PMS? Do you have PMDD? What is going on inside your body? Those cycles of your body start to become more aware of them. They start to, again, bring you into harmony. Now, those cycles may suck, and I could probably do 5 or 6 podcasts on the care of people with uteruses in this country. It's not good, and some of the things that people have to put up with are absolutely barbaric. So I'm not saying that when you get into harmony with your body, everything's going to magically, start sprouting glitter and rainbows. You may still be dealing with those physical health issues. You may still be dealing with those mental health issues. But once you become aware of them, that's another tool in your tool set. That's another tool that you can use along with anything from your physical or mental health providers, along with meditation, along with yoga, along with tuning into your body, to just start being aware of the ebbs and flows of life. So you're going with life rather than feeling as if you're constantly being buffeted by 1,000 storms. Because in the end, that to me is really what the harmony means. And that means that you are feeling, you're congruent, you're in the flow, you're in the zone. you can deal with the bumps that come to your way. You can deal with what needs to happen. Kind of like Super Mario Brothers when he's going down the trail and he has to jump over the turtles or jump on the turtles or jump over the pipes or, whatever level you're on. I'm way old school, so I'm original Super Mario Brothers. But when you're in your flow in a video game, you're going along and broop, you jump over any of your obstacles. You're just kind of zipping through the levels. Everything feels good. You've got your timing right. That's the sort of congruence that we're looking at between yourself and your body, because that's where harmony comes from. Once you get that feeling in your personal life, in your body, and in the world around you, then you can start expanding that to how do you interact then with other things in the world without completely cutting yourself off? How do you stay aware of what's going on? How do you stay engaged? How do you stay active? This may mean pulling back for a bit, participating in more self-care, participating in more proactive care of yourself. But also it means then that you're going to have more fuel to give, more fuel for your activism, more fuel for social justice, more fuel to take care of those around you and fight for your community. All of that is balance. All of that is being in the flow and in the zone, because once you got that, then a lot of things are going to start to fall into place. So I want to stop here, and we'll talk into this and dive into more detail in later episodes. I'm Kit Kailstow. I'm the Chicken Yogi. I would love to talk to you about some of the tools that I use to help stay in harmony. I hope you like, subscribe, and follow me on all the social media networks. Thank you so much, and I'll see you next.
Thank you for listening to the Chicken Yogi Show, the podcast that helps you find your inner power by connecting you to self and nature, hosted by the Chicken Yogi, Kit Kailstow. The Chicken Yogi Show is presented on the Akayam Radio Network. Learn more about Kit's work at chickenyogi.com. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow the Chicken Yogi on all social media platforms. Listen to all episodes and get show notes at podcast.chickenyogi.com. Thank you for listening.
He's going down the trail and he has to jump over the turtles or jump on the turtles or jump over the pipes or, whatever level you're on. I'm way old school, so I'm original Super Mario Brothers. But when you're in your flow in a video game, you're going along and broop, you jump over any of your obstacles. You're just kind of zipping through the levels. Everything feels good. You've got your timing right. That's the sort of congruence that we're looking at between yourself and your body, because that's where harmony comes from. Once you get that feeling in your personal life, in your body, and in the world around you, then you can start expanding that to how do you interact then with other things in the world without completely cutting yourself off? How do you stay aware of what's going on? How do you stay engaged? How do you stay active? This may mean pulling back for a bit, participating in more self-care, participating in more proactive care of yourself. But also it means then that you're going to have more fuel to give, more fuel for your activism, more fuel for social justice, more fuel to take care of those around you and fight for your community. All of that is balance. All of that is being in the flow and in the zone, because once you got that, then a lot of things are going to start to fall into place. So I want to stop here, and we'll talk into this and dive into more detail in later episodes. I'm Kit Kailstow. I'm the Chicken Yogi. I would love to talk to you about some of the tools that I use to help stay in harmony. I hope you like, subscribe, and follow me on all the social media networks. Thank you so much, and I'll see you next.
Thank you for listening to the Chicken Yogi Show, the podcast that helps you find your inner power by connecting you to self and nature, hosted by the Chicken Yogi, Kit Kailstow. The Chicken Yogi Show is presented on the Akayam Radio Network. Learn more about Kit's work at chickenyogi.com. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow the Chicken Yogi on all social media platforms. Listen to all episodes and get show notes at podcast.chickenyogi.com. Thank you for listening. Listen to all episodes and get show notes at podcast.chickenyogi.com. Thank you for listening.